Welcome back. Welcome. I'm Mr. Bitcoin Maxi, and we are all Bitcoin Maxis. Now, today is a very special video. So it's important that everybody pays attention. Now, before we get into this video, I got an email this morning from a gentleman said, "Look, I just found your channel and I need help." I said, "Okay, well, this is not financial advice. However, he's like, I understand, but I just want your opinion." So we hopped on a Zoom call, and this gentleman told me, "Look, I want to get into Bitcoin. However, I feel I missed the boat, especially with the prices today." And I said, "Look, where are you currently at financially?" He said, "Well, I got 5 properties." And I said, "Okay." And he told me they're a headache. He said, "I seen one of your videos where you're talking about how you came from a real estate family." And he told me, "I agree." He said, "The tenants, just things that go wrong, I have to pay for it." And he said, "It's a headache." I said, "Okay, let's do this. How much can you afford to lose as far as selling one of your properties?" And he said, "What do you mean losing?" I said, "As far as the income from your rental properties." He said, "Well, I get a pension, so I could sell realistically all of them." I said, "Okay, that's good. However, we don't want to sell all of them. If I was in your shoes, what I would do is sell one of them." And what I did was I went on PropStream, because I come from a real estate family. I have a real estate background as well. So I went to PropStream and looked at the comparable properties on one of them. Comparables in the area recently sold in the last 6 months around $350,000. So I said, "Look, this is what I would do if I was you. I would sell one of your properties and I would buy 2 Bitcoins with that." And this gentleman is almost 65. Okay? Almost 65. And I said, what you can do, buy one of them, or buy 1 Bitcoin and then leave the other for cash reserves as far as emergency fund, and as well as being able to buy Bitcoin. It goes on a discount, so you want to keep adding. And then if you want, you could sell another property if you'd like. But what I would do was just keep the cash flows, because he told me that all of the properties are paid off, which is a good thing. Now, let's get into the bracket, what I say, how much you should realistically have by each age group. Now, that story is going to tie into later in the video, so stay with me. Now, you're 18 to 25 watching this, right? You're starting your life. So you're in your early stacking years, is what I call it. So your goal should be 0.05 to 0.1 BTC. Now, getting started matters most. By dollar cost averaging, you can work extra hours. Now, I know there's some people that might have health conditions. They might not be able to. However, this is just a general category that I suggest that you all be in. Now, even if you got health issues, there's still ways that you can figure out how to get more Bitcoin, especially in your early years. If you're in your 20s, you have more than enough time. You have more than enough time to dollar cost average and be conservative about your purchases, but you also can be maximizing your cash flow, because you might be possibly trying to figure your career out. You might be currently in college, whatever the situation is. You have time. All right. Now let's get into 26 to 34. Now this is what I call the wealth building phase. Now your goal should be 0.1 to 0.21 BTC. So in these years, around these years, you should have a stable income. You should be establishing yourself in your career. You should be figuring out what you want to do as far as your career. And I recommend everybody to stick to one lane as far as a career, and then open some type of side business that you can get into and get away from your job. That's my recommendation, because as I always tell you all on this channel, AI is going to replace a lot of jobs. And I'm not fear-mongering in this channel with you all. I'm not sitting here saying, you're for sure going to lose your job, but most likely it's coming in the coming years, because AI is getting more and more advanced. And even in the real estate market, they're seeing it with AI agents replacing cold callers and things like that. So let's get into the next one. So 35 to 45, right? Your peak power from earning. So your peak power from earning should be from the job that you've been working or your profession. Now, I recommend this to be 0.21 to 0.5 BTC. This age group should prioritize stacking past 0.21 BTC, so which is a half of a Bitcoin, okay? 0.5 Bitcoin becomes a realistic price target at that age. Now, when you're in that age, 35 to 45, you should be maximizing your cash flow. And even if you're just starting out, so I know some people might be thinking, well, I haven't even started, so I'm in that age group, but there's no way I could get to that. That means, in my opinion, not financial advice, but in my opinion, you should start being more aggressive than these other price targets. So that means creating a Bitcoin investment plan. And if you haven't seen that video, go check it out. It's easy to create a Bitcoin investment plan. So that means that you should be finding ways every day to secure your financial future and buy more Bitcoin by possibly spending cash, using only cash, and then the change, start saving the change. Start saving bottles. So if you go to the store, you buy a pack of waters, for example, then start saving the bottles. So those two things will create extra income and it'll speed up that process, right? So I know because not everybody has just $10,000, $20,000, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 laying around. So I get that. So I completely get that before you guys all get upset and possibly just say something in the comments. Trust me, I believe me, I know. Okay. So 46 to 55 is your pre-retirement. Okay. So your goal should be 0.21 to 0.5 BTC as well. Now, by this point, stacking should become a meaningful position, pushing closer to 1 BTC. So it's important to understand that this is your pre-retirement. You all should be thinking about your retirement years. Now, the higher you get up in this age group, the more important it is to have more Bitcoin. And the reason for this is because we're getting, like I said, into pre-retirement. We're getting into our retirement years. So we want to have a nest egg. Now, if you have a lot of cash saved up, not financial advice, but I would put it into Bitcoin. I would split it up into Bitcoin, but make sure you also have reserves on the side for Bitcoin dips, but you also have a good amount for your emergency fund because you don't want to sell your Bitcoin. Now, 56 and over, right? Your goal should be 0.5 to 1 BTC minimum. So the reason why for that is because you're basically in the retirement years. You're basically in that age bracket to where you should be realistically getting as much Bitcoin as you can and understanding that the Bitcoin is something that you should have because you want to create generational wealth. And so you could possibly hand it down to your kids. You can possibly use it for your family and change your generational wealth, which is really important because when your children and your grandchildren look back when Bitcoin's $10-15 million by them, possibly more, they're going to be like, wow, my family member or family members got into Bitcoin and was one of the early adopters, which is really important, right? So you want to make sure, especially in the age 56, that you have 0.5 at least. And I always tell everybody in this video, or on the channel, I mean, that everybody should be striving at least 0.5 Bitcoin minimum, at least by that age group as well. So if you're below the age bracket, you have plenty of time to keep stacking and understand that Bitcoin's not going anywhere. Bitcoin is not going anywhere